I'm stubborn about my goals and flexible about my methods. So if my goal is to sell the property or make X amount of dollars on a property, if I'm a realtor and a broker, I could do that through assignment fee. I could do that through innovation. I could do that through listing a property. So there's other ways that I can skin that cat. And it comes into for me, a situation where I'm offering solutions to the seller in regards to like, yo, what's best for you? I'm here to help you, as opposed to like, I'm only a one trick pony. You know, I got to get this for 50%, 60% minus repairs. It just limiting on what you're able to do.
Gary, thank you for joining me on our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host over here, Matt Camp, head of partnerships at DealMachine. And on these, we really like to shine an industry spotlight on experts like yourself, hear your inspiring stories, and see how you see the real estate world evolving. So today, really excited to welcome on Gary Brackett. You were a walk-on athlete that eventually became an NFL Super Bowl champion and Indianapolis Colts legend and team captain. You've been in real estate for over 20 years. You went to Rutgers and were the team defensive MVP after being a walk-on there. Pretty incredible story. You're an entrepreneur, been in the restaurant business before as well as real estate. Have an amazing, kind of transformational speaking background for 20 plus years, and also put out great content on social media. So, Gary, really excited to have you on, man.
Man, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. Can you tell us more? I mean, in terms of your personal story, it's pretty incredible how you got into real estate. Like, you were thinking outside the box a little bit here while you're in the NFL. So, can you tell us more about how you did that first deal and got into this stuff?
Well, first off, I can remember being in college, I was in business economics, so I was going to walk on Wall Street. I actually had a job on Wall Street. I took the train there one day from Rutgers University, about a 45-minute trip. And I came home and tried to train because we had like combine in like 14 days, 2 weeks at the school. And I'm talking about, I was dog tired. I'm talking about exhausted. So the next morning I wake up for the 5 a.m. train back to New York. And I just called my boss and say, hey man, I got this opportunity to maybe make it to the NFL. So, I'm not going to be able to come, but can my job still be there if it doesn't work? He's like, you NFL? Yeah, right. So I'm just like, whatever, man. I just had to take that chance. But when I was in college, when I was training, I was also reading Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I can remember not having the money, but like ordering all the infomercial, the tapes and the programs, and taking them to the library and making copies, and then sending the stuff back, right? Just so I could get my credit card refunded. So that was kind of my interest in real estate. So in my first year in the NFL, we did really well. Made it to AFC Championship game, so we got like additional checks for the playoff games. So man, the NFL, they have this matching program where before it was like you put in max amount of 401k, we double it. Well, as a rookie, they didn't do that, so they didn't make you put the money in. So instead of putting my money in the 401k, I brought the investment property back home in New Jersey, where I'm from. Went really well. We had renters for like a year or two, and that's when I realized, like, nah, if I'm going to rent, it's going to be closer to me so I can manage them a little bit better. But we ended up getting it fixed and flipping out of it, making, $30,000-$40,000, which was a great introduction to real estate.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing, man. I mean, how did you, I know you started as a walk-on. Like, can you tell us more about, the mindset of going from walk-on to Super Bowl champion, and then how did that prepare you for your success in real estate? Like, I'd love to hear how kind of your football journey maybe mirrors your professional success at all.
Yeah, no doubt. I can remember, I was undersized. I'm 5'10", I played at like 225. And in high school, I had this mindset, if you build it, they will come. And I would get these letters from these college coaches, and I wouldn't respond back to them. I just thought like, no, they're going to tap me on my shoulder and like give me, but it just shows you even now, just like, yo, it takes two to tango. So, you got to be proactive about your own life. And back then I put it in my coach's hands, who, sent out my senior year playoff tape to get me recruited. Knowing what I know now, that's way too late. Kids are getting offers in the 8th grade.
Yeah.
So I got a walk-on opportunity at Rutgers University. I'm there for 2 years. Unfortunately, my parents are refinancing a house to pay for my education. So I get a call one day from my dad and was like, hey, I got bad news. I'm like, what's up? He was like, hey, we don't have any more equity in the house. Like, you got to come home. And I was real close. I had played football for a year. I was on special team starter, and I had just made most improved player in that offseason by working really hard. And
Yeah.
my college coach at that point called me to his office and was like, "Hey man, I just want to let you know we're gonna recruit players that are bigger and better than Gary Brackett." So initially I'm like, "Damn, like you kicked me when I'm down." But then he said, "You work hard, you show up early, you got a 3.4 GPA. I wish we had more Gary Brackett. Somebody just filled out. We're gonna give you a scholarship." And from that
Wow.
moment on, that just triggered me like, yo, I got to make the most of this opportunity, having a scholarship, Division I football. And I just went out there and was just like on a tear, just, first in every drill, giving everything I had.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible, man. I mean, to hear how many obstacles you've overcome, like that is pretty nuts to be able to see like you go
Yeah.
from that and being literally getting that one break right there all the way through to a long storied career in the NFL. So tell us more. I mean, as you were kind of going through that on the NFL side, and again like had so much success there. After the career, what was that, or after that football career, what was that like? Like, tell us more about the transition from that into kind of the, full time on the real estate front.
Yeah. So it's crazy because at some point, I'm flipping, 2, 3 properties a year. I'm looking at properties back home. I had a cousin who I'm doing stuff with in New Jersey. Um, and it got to a point where, I had quite a bit of income. So I was like, man, I need to switch off from these one offs. And I started investing in real estate like REITs. So these
Mm-hmm.
bigger hands off type of situations, which was good to park your income, but not really the best idea to build a skill set. The biggest thing about, having a bunch of resources and invest in it is like, if you're careful, you don't learn from those investments. And a lot of times that knowledge is worth way more than the capital
Mm-hmm.
that you stand and make during those investments, right? So it wasn't until I really just started investing in my own again, buying single family properties. I built a rental portfolio at one point at like 14 properties. I was buying from tax sales. I was flipping homes, so it was going pretty well. So I was kind of doing that, and then opportunity came up when I invested in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
It went really well. So then I kind of pivoted from building up my rental portfolio into selling restaurants.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, oh, can you hear me there, Gary?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, there you go. Sorry, cut out the very end there. Uh, yeah, that's amazing, man. I mean, I think like it's so cool to see again, how you kind of went through that journey. Do you think like from your playing days, how you were approaching training and all of that? Do you think is there anything from your routine there that you've applied to the real estate space that you think newbies could learn from of how to approach that work ethic and maybe daily routine and all of that?
Yeah, I think it's like it's the mentality of 1% better every day.
Mm-hmm.
Some people get so caught up. They did a couple deals, they experienced some success, and then it's almost like they stop training. And not in a sense of working out, but a sense of reading books, attending masterminds. You guys do a great job of, hosting weekly masterminds. And some of the hosts on there is just like, yo, these dudes get paid a lot of money to speak publicly, right? These
Mm-hmm.
dudes are doing you a huge favor and they're dropping gems. And it's just like, I understand that, is this compound effect that needs to occur in order for you to be great at something. And that's like putting knowledge on top of knowledge on top of knowledge, and sometimes all it takes is like a one little jewel, a nugget that you didn't know that's going to be all the difference in the world. So just staying hungry and thirsty for that knowledge, and not only receiving it, but then applying it once you receive that knowledge.
Yeah, love that, man. I mean, and I appreciate the shout out to our weekly master classes too. I know I've seen you on there a few times, and
Yeah,
it's
for
something that
sure.
we're definitely blessed on our end with just be have such a great community of both Deal Machine customers and people learning from each other there, and also like you said, people who are willing to spend their time with our people and come in and make them more successful. So, yeah, and you are right in the end too, like yes, it's great to absorb as much information as possible, but learning through doing and, being able to go out there and take action and learn through that action, like that is where you're going to be able to really take it to the next level. And like you said, that the knowledge you get from that, it might be way, worth so much more than it would just investing in like a REIT or something passive. Right. So, yeah, great stuff. On my end, I was curious, I know how long have you been a realtor as well?
Yeah, so it's the funny part. So like I think it was when was it? It was like 2000 and probably 12, 13, and I'm flipping homes but deals are flying off the shelves, and it was just like, I'll be outside of a property, and I want to go see it, but I can't
Mhm.
because I'm not a realtor. So now I have to call a realtor. They got a schedule appointment, or show up 2 or 3 days later when we made our schedule, and it was just so inefficient. So I was just like,
Mhm.
I was kind of in that learning mode. So I was just like, I went to school 2 weeks and got my license, and from then it was just like, hey, I could go, show a property, or I could hop in this thing, when I need to. So I hadn't started practicing until about a year ago.
Mhm.
Doing some wholesaling, doing some regular retail stuff. Now getting into more creative financing deals. But it's definitely a huge advantage from being an investor, entrepreneur, and also a realtor and a broker.
Nice. So if you were starting over brand new today, I know it's a subject that we hear often. We have plenty of realtors coming to us using us more now as a lead gen tool, as
Hmm.
a tool to generate listings, as a tool to over deliver for their clients. And if they have a client that's wanting to buy a house in a certain dream neighborhood, them using Deal Machine to start prospecting and farming in that neighborhood. Like we've seen a lot of different use cases from real estate agents using us more too. If you were brand new to this space and you were considering like, hey, should I get my license? Should I not? Like, do you have any advice there? I'm just curious on like what you'd recommend.
Yeah, I think it all depends on your end game and what you're trying to do. Some people are just setting this up as an investor and they're
Hmm.
passive and they're going to get cash flow from rental. But if you're a wholesale and making transaction, it just gives you more opportunities for exit strategies.
Hmm.
And I think for me, it's just like I always say all the time, I'm stubborn about my goals and flexible about my methods. So if my goal is to sell the property or make X amount of dollars on a property, if I'm a realtor and a broker, I could do that through assignment fee. I could do that through innovation. I could do that through listing the property. So there's
Hmm.
other ways that I can skin that cat, and it comes into for me a situation where I'm offering solutions to the seller in regards to like, yo, what's best for you? I'm here to help
Hmm.
you, as opposed to like I'm only a one trick pony. I gotta get this for 50%, 60% minus repairs. It just
Hmm.
limiting on what you're able to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love the like the mindset about around being stubborn on your goals like that, but your methods are you're always learning. So,
Yeah,
um,
no doubt.
great. Yeah, great stuff there. Do you think, on your end as well? I know one thing that I've kind of followed for a bit now is kind of the stuff you're putting on social media and how you're educating
Mhm.
people there. Anything you've learned through that journey for newbies to take away from it? I mean, if they're trying to start their own, online brand, is that something that has helped you within real estate? Like, would you recommend they focus on that? I mean, I know it's a little different for you with your background being an athlete, but still, like, I'd love to know, would you recommend spending time in that with that strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anymore people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Hmm.
And they can only know you so much, right? By not showing up online, and you just then, um, by the chance that you meet them out in public. So for me, it's like I kind of break the barrier a lot with online with my personality. So then, often like I'm out in public and people are like, Gary, they hang on, shake, and I'm with someone and they're like, yo, you know them? I'm like, absolutely not. But because they see me, what I'm saying, on social media, is like they know
Yeah.
me. I'm their brother. I'm not, what I'm saying? So it's just like,
Yeah.
I think that trust barrier for me is a lot easier. So when I'm talking to a potential seller or I'm talking to somebody else, I'm just like, hey, I'm a pretty trustworthy guy. Like you can check my stuff out. I ain't going
Hmm.
nowhere. I'm not hiding. And I think it builds that credibility. As opposed to some people, man. First thing people do, I do when I meet someone is I look up on their online, see what their online profile is talking about.
Hmm.
One, if I don't find you, I'm very leery about doing a deal with you, right? And
Yeah.
then and then if I find you and you're talking crazy and doing a whole bunch of other stuff, I'm leery. But if I find you and you're just out and about and you're often you're giving back, I'm like, damn, I really want to work with this guy. He really seems like a cool dude. Like I want
Yeah.
to build a relationship, because for me, I would rather work with people that that I like, that I get along with, that we got our same alignment of visions and mission, as
Hmm.
opposed to just I always say this thing: I want clients versus customers.
Yeah.
So I want to build those long-term relationships, and I think you can do that by building your presence online, by finding people that that you can attract, and then also people that you repel. Like if people don't like a good looking, funny, attractive, intelligent guy, right? They can go somewhere else, right? There's a lot of ugly people selling real estate.
Love it, man. It's a great mindset too. That's fantastic. Do you yeah, I mean, do you think like so for say you're I love the point about online credibility of like building a relationship with people. If you're newer to the real estate game, which a fair number of people watching this are newer, still learning, trying to do that first deal or first couple. Do you have any advice for them on like what types of content they should be putting out there? Like having done this yourself, is there anything you're finding really resonating right now, with your content? Like, I just curious on that topic too.
Yeah, so I think we talked about this before. So my end goal, at one point, I had like a big coaching program. I got
Mm-hmm.
EOS certified, but to be EOS implementer. So I was
Yep.
doing more business coaching, which was extremely broad. So for me, I wanted to really narrow down to real estate, and I heard Alex Hermosi say this. He
Mm-hmm.
was like, as a coach, you shouldn't tell people what you should do. You should tell people what you've done and what worked. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, I wanted to take a step back and really show people what worked and show people what a system that I built. So my goals or strategies to build this following and kind of take them behind the scenes of what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
One, to let them know that they can do it and this isn't like impossible. So I think if your strategy is a coach or to help others, building that out. But if your strategy is to find sellers or to find buyers, I think educating people about your process, about what your values are and how you operate and how you do business, I think it only helps you at the end of the day. Because like I said, people are definitely going to, look up your profile, and the beautiful thing about social media is like you get to control that story.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is awesome, man. I don't, we're running out of time a little bit here, but this has been
Right.
fantastic having you on. I do want to make sure. I was going to ask around. You'd said like, hey, you're looking at strategies like creative finance, and we definitely
Mhm.
hear that more and more on our end, just with low interest rates and the opportunities that brings for people. How are you kind of approaching creative finance, and do you have any recommendations for newbies? Like, is that something they should look into? Is that something they should tackle? Just curious where you're at there in your journey.
Yeah, so for me, before last year when I first started wholesaling, it was just like, buying a house for as cheap as possible and then trying to just find an end buyer. But I because I was afraid of MLS and what you could do and what you could say as a realtor and disclosures. So there's so much paperwork. A lot of stuff could be done through contracts, right? You can disclose a lot of stuff. But now I think for me with the creative side, just looking at the innovation piece of it,
Mm-hmm.
letting people know like, hey, all right, you want top dollar for your property. I want you to get top dollar for your property. This is a way we can do that, right? I can, if you don't have the resources to get it done, I can, shed some of my own resources. I can help fix the property up, paint it, do some other things. We get to put on the market for this, but then this is going to be my fee for offering you that service.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now, again, being in the business to solve problems and have solutions, I think is more beneficial for me because one, I think you get a more sophisticated client sometimes you do that, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's always helpful. And honestly, there's some bigger spreads, in the innovation space than there is on sometimes even a wholesale and the fix and
Mm-hmm.
flip space.
For sure. Yeah. And like I mentioned with the interest rates, I mean, there's just with the fact that a lot of people have those kind of like golden handcuff, 3%
Yeah.
ish, rates and things like there's a lot more opportunities to be able to do that type of thing. And
But if
then,
you look at it now, a lot of people are losing their house with foreclosure.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
foreclosure rates are going up. Like people are missing payments. So people are going to need to
Mm-hmm.
sell their property, and some of them aren't market ready. So some of them
Yep.
going to need some other type of solution. So being able to offer them different type of solutions, and they call it the equity protection program, where
Mm-hmm.
hey, if you're in a home and you got 30, 40,000 equity, you don't just give that back to the bank. So finding a realtor or a real estate professional that can help you, tap into that equity, and sometimes it's just like, oh man, you got that much for a house, but just like, hey, I had this family walk away with 20, 30 grand. They could start over as opposed to them, getting kicked out, getting put out, and not making any
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. I love the equity protection program, kind of phrasing there. We've seen people use that on direct mail and things like that and have some pretty good success with it. But yeah, it's, I think in general, that's like you said, creative financing, just having more tools in the tool belt to be able to solve problems for that individual, right? So I
Right.
love your mindset around all this, man. Your work ethic is inspiring, like your whole story of how, again, went from went from walk on in college to and being able to put in the work to get have a coach believe in you all the way through to Super Bowl champ. Like that's pretty cool. So really appreciate your time today. What's the best way for people to connect with you too? Is it through Instagram, you said?
Yeah, no, definitely Instagram. I'm on there probably more regularly than all
Mm-hmm.
the other platforms, and you definitely shout me out, and I definitely will chat with you in the inbox.
Perfect, perfect. So I'll make sure we link to that below. We also have a few other free resources below for you to check out. But Gary, really appreciate you coming on. We'll have to do this again.
All right, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and to everyone watching, it's Matt Camp over here with Deal Machine, and happy deal finding.